Time being 7:01, I will call the meeting to order. Could I have roll call?
Certainly. Mr. Schrader.
Here.
Mrs. Schatzinger.
Here.
Mr. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Gallops. Mr. Morrison.
Here.
Mrs. Kane.
Here.
Mr. Wirch. Mr. Split.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the ability to gather tonight. We thank you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon all of us in our community. Father, we ask that you be with the citizens of our fair city, that you protect their health, safety, and welfare, that you protect our emergency personnel, the people on the front lines, Lord, as we deal with many challenges. We also ask, Father, that we look to you for guidance, for support, for the things that we need in our lives to keep moving forward on a daily basis. We ask that our deliberations tonight be respectful, and that we act in the best interest of our community. We ask all of this in your name, Father. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Al.
All right. Could I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I motion it. Second.
Moved by Ben, seconded by John. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved. Come to the public comment. This is the opportunity for citizens to come before the council with comments and concerns on any current city issue, knowing that no action will be taken tonight. All that I ask is that you keep it civil and respectful and within 5 minutes. However, discussions of personnel or of individual members of the council shall not be considered appropriate. I would also expect council to treat the citizens with the same respect. Our first person tonight is Warren.
Sherm?
Sherm? You'd like to come up to the podium and...
Well, when you guys get to the 86, you won't hear anything neither. Guaranteed you won't. I have to repeat it 2 or 3 times. I'm here to talk about the dispatch center. You know, we're a city by ourselves. We're not home for Fond du Lac people to come here, or home for Oshkosh people to come here to work. We got to stand on our own 2 feet. I don't care what you want to call it. And so I'm here to talk about the dispatch center staying here. You know, I'll give you a little history. Last fall, I fell in my garage, flat as can be. I couldn't move, nothing. Stayed right there. And my wife called, after about 10 minutes, she come out and was wondering where I was and called 911. And inside of 2 minutes, the police department was right there. They must have been on patrol or something, I don't know. But it don't make any difference. Inside of 4.5 minutes, the ambulance was there. And I'm still laying there. And they finally got me in a board underneath and hauled me to the hospital. That's the first time. And it happened the second time again in the first part of January. But I wasn't laying on the floor, I was in the tub. Now you talk about embarrassing. I couldn't move. And they come in and they put a thing underneath me and hauled me out, just like that. And so what I'm saying is, I'm supporting our police department because they're right there, and our fire department, but the EMPs, I do not want to see them change. Now, somebody says, you call 911, if you've got a cell phone, it goes to Fond du Lac. Big deal. Not everybody has a cell phone. Nobody has. I mean, a lot of people, us old guys, and especially us old people, none of you guys are old yet. Just wait till you get there. A minute 1 minute makes a big difference in whoever's been hurt. If they have to wait a minute, especially when you're old, you know, us older folks, we want it now. We don't want it later. We want it, in other words, if they were right there, I couldn't ask for anything better, but I'm a lone ranger. Now, one thing you're talking about is the amount of money. If I would have waited until we had any money or something like that, we would never had Ingalls Field. We would still be running around on a dirt track or a cinder track. We would not have had it. Our community raised all the money for everything that's been there for the last 30 years. The community did. And so our businesses, all of our businesses are supporting you guys and supporting the city. And all I'm saying is, let's just keep it the way it is, because people do not like the change. In other words, for the little it costs, if it costs $1, I'll give you $1 on my taxes. There's some places you guys have got to bite the bullet. I don't care how you want to call it. You've got to bite the bullet and do what's right for the community. That's all. If anybody got a question, that's all I got. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, appreciate it, sir.
All right, and second and last is Al Schrader.
Al Schrader, 21 Stanton Street, here in Ripon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As I reflect on our last time we met as a council on November 23rd, I feel I owe my colleague, Mrs. Schatzinger, my fellow council members, Mayor Grant, Attorney Wirtz, Ms. Rich, member of the city's administration, city employees, and the citizens that were in attendance that night, a public apology. My comments to Mrs. Schatzinger that evening did not reflect the dignity and respect that she or anyone here that evening deserve. I am highly disappointed in myself and offer no excuses but a heartfelt apology to each and every person in these chambers that evening and the Ripon community. I certainly did not positively represent anyone that evening as a colleague, elected official, or your council president. I hope you can forgive me. Thank you.
You. Well, all right. Next item of business is accepting the informal reports and standing committees and from standing committees and staff. Is there a motion to accept as published?
I'll second it.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Ben. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the informal reports, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those are accepted. Next item is the consent calendar. Is there a motion to accept the consent calendar as published?
I would move to approve.
Second.
By Al, seconded by John. Any discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved. Next, our first action item is the Business Improvement District. I'd like to start this out by inviting Craig and TJ, if you'd like to step forward. The Business Improvement District has submitted an operating plan for 2021. And this is our opportunity to ask them any questions. Unless you have a statement to start with.
No, I think we tried to write it all up here for you, and I think it covers it all pretty well. So no, we'll field any questions and that you have with regard to it.
All right. Any questions for our guests? Jolene?
Thanks so much for being here.
Well,
I would be
thanks.
remiss if I didn't say how much it is doing to move forward. There was a community member that asked me to ask if you could give an update on sort of the progress of projects, and then also they wanted to know specifically what is the process of how you're informing bid members of progress. This particular person had a question about kind of an update on where things stand on Blackbird Street as well. But maybe just in general, some of the projects.
Sure, so I think I know who you're referring to, and they asked the question as well. So let's talk about what we've done. So kind of, I'm gonna start from the beginning. Back in 2019, the bid board was reintroduced. And, you know, about 30 years had passed since the last meeting. So we had a lot of work to catch up on, rewrite the bylaws, and we did that. And through that process, we had a lot of open meetings that some people attended, some people did not. And last year's meeting that we were at, there was a request, 2 years ago, there was a request to have some more outreach. So what we did is we had a mixer where we invited the public to come in and talk about the projects and what we're doing. And then we also sent out a survey, okay, to survey all the members of the district. And that was pretty well received, and we wrote a lot of those comments. Last year, unfortunately, with COVID, our bid mixer was canceled. So as a result, you know, we couldn't get face-to-face, and a lot of things happened. So over the course of the year, as you can well imagine, there wasn't a lot of people meeting. So I would say the interaction was somewhat limited. However, in the report, we're re-engaging that process of having more people. We're gonna have another bid mixer. We have that on the calendar. Hopefully, this whole COVID thing is gone away. And, yeah, and if not, we're gonna try to do it via Zoom. That's how we reach out to people, and we welcome, you know, emails, comments, and we get a lot of those. And obviously the meetings and whatnot as well. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. And then, I guess, is there it sounds like it's in the progress, to look at other areas, specifically, you know, Blackburn Street, so it sounds like discussions are.
Yeah, so last year, let's talk about that specifically. So last year, you know, there was more of an initiative put in the report and the recommendations to Ripon Main Street to focus not only on Main Street, but on the areas surrounding Main Street. And some things have gotten done. Unfortunately, due to the fundraising, you know, keep in mind that the bid is, I'd say, a portion of the overall Main Street budget, right? So it's their budget also is developed through the hotel room tax as well as through fundraising. So we're a small portion of that, but the recommendation was heard, and they had several projects for the surrounding areas that were implemented. Some of it signage, some of it beautification projects, right? And you know, and some of that had to be curtailed or brought more because of the budget constraints that they had. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So, so moving forward, that's one of the recommendations that we have, and hopefully, you know, once we get past the COVID situation and the fundraising can happen and the projects can happen, to follow that. So, you know, from my perspective and the perspective of the board, I would say that there's been a great deal of progress made in the fact that, you know, one of the initiatives, and the city's done a great job, is collaboration between the city and Ripon Main Street to delineate the responsibility. And I think there's been a lot better understanding of who's supposed to do what, and I think there's been a great deal of improvement in that process. And I think that there's been some really good things happening with the maintenance part of it, with the flowers and things like that. So, so that's kind of the progress of what happened this year. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks for your leadership in that.
Well, thank you. Anybody else? No? Good.
All right. If there's no further question for these gentlemen, is there a motion to approve the operating plan for the bid district for 2021?
Almost.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Moved by John,
Wait, Paige seconded it.
seconded by Paige.
Oh, hang on a second.
All right. Any discussion on the motion to approve the operating plan for the bid district? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. All right, next on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale of not to exceed $2,955,000 general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2021A. Lori, would you like to start the discussion here?
I think I'll turn it over to Phil, and he
Okay.
can give us the details.
Right, all right, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I am a very familiar face to some of you here, but new to others. So I've been working with the city now for, this is a complete guess, and maybe Lud could help me, but 15,
like
15, 20
At
years.
least, I'd say
from-
20. I'd say
Like
Yeah,
20.
about 20. So a long time, and our role varies from time to time. So we're municipal advisors, and what that means to you is that we assist at your will when time calls for it to help finance capital projects on behalf of the city. We also have been involved in helping negotiate development agreements, working collectively with staff and your city attorney. We've helped in the creation of tax increment financing districts and other kind of behind the scene, I'll call it, help with things like levy limits and those kind of things that have to be dealt with in operating a city. So that's kind of our role. So tonight, why I'm here is that we're bringing to you a refunding opportunity. And so if you think of refunding, that's the technical term in my world. If you think of it more like a refinancing of your mortgage, it's really the same concept. Back in 2012, the city issued bonds. And at that time, they issued bonds for capital projects that were being done in the city at that time. As that issue matures over time, there's what's called a call feature. And that call feature enables you to prepay the bonds, refinance the bonds without any penalty once you hit that call date. So that call date is coming up pretty quickly here. It's in 2021. And we have the ability to refinance debt up to 90 days before that call date. So that call date is 3/1 of 21. So that's why we're in front of you tonight, to get a authorization. And all that is tonight is you saying, yes, we like the idea of saving money. And yes, we would like you to proceed with this. And so really what we have in front of you tonight is a pre-sale report, which really outlines kind of the whole deal of what's transpiring here. And I'm going to touch on a few items real quick. It's not as simple as just walking into the bank and saying, we're going to refinance your debt and help us. We have a call date, we have to refinance the debt, and we have to go through a call provision on the bonds. And that's all kind of timely. But in this process also, because the city is rated by Moody's Investor Service, we'll go through a rating call. Lori will be excited to have one more of those opportunities before she retires. And we will go through that rating process with you and assist you in that process. And then on a date certain time, we will take bids. And our approach has always been to do competitive bond sales. If you think about why, if you're gonna put a roof on City Hall, you're gonna take bids on that. Same thing with your money. We feel like it's best, in your best interest, that we solicit bids from local banks, with banks that are located in the state, and also national underwriters, and try to drive down the cost of financing. So in this pre-sale report, we've put together a number of documents that kind of show you what we think we're going to see as far as results. Now, there's always this lapse in time between when you give us authorization and when the actual sale occurs. We're not looking to sell these bonds until January 14th. not your normal council night. It's 2 days after. And we're looking to do this as what's called a parameter sale, meaning if we meet in certain guidelines, we hit certain targets of savings, it's automatically signed off by either the mayor or the administrator or both. And that's what we would like to do here as well. We'd really like to have the ability to have some flexibility in case the market moves, which it will between now and then, to be able to kind of delay the sale or if need be. And that parameter sale gives us that flexibility to do so. So what we have projected is net savings. Now that's after all costs of going through this process of about $253,000. Now again, that's over, if you look at it, it's over an 11-year period. But you're averaging around $20,000 to $25,000 of annual savings that'll kick in first in '22. 21's budget's been established already. And so this will really be impacting your 2022 budget going forward, about $20,000 to $25,000 a year savings. So what that equates to is 7% present value savings, which is what percent of the outstanding bonds you're actually saving. It's 7% in this case. So we would bring this to you, any savings usually over around 3%, and we're well over that amount. So the question in your mind right now is, you were just talking about what if the market moves, you know, at what point do we have to pull the pin on this, and what risk do you have? What we've always done, and I've been with Ellers a long time, we've always said to our municipal clients that there's risk in every deal. The risk is really our risk. We're gonna go through this process. If we get 90% through and the market moves, we'll delay the sale. We'll be in constant contact with Lori, and we'll delay the sale until we actually are able to achieve a reasonable savings. And if the market moves permanently, we'll just cancel the sale. It won't happen. And there's really no cost at all to the city. It's just kind of part of doing business for us, as we know the market's going to shift from time to time. But we feel pretty good that the market's going to hold. We, election's over. COVID's still COVID. And we don't think the Fed policy is going to change a great deal under a different president. We think it's just going to kind of be status quo for a while until COVID is kind of cleaned up a little bit, hopefully in the relatively near future. So we think rates are going to stay pretty flat for quite a while. In this packet that I provided you, the last page of it is a bond chart that shows you what's happened over the 3 years. If you look at that, you can see that we're at the bottom of the market over the last 3 years. That has not changed a whole lot over the last couple of months. So we fully expect that we'll be able to conduct the sale unless something crazy happens in the market. But tonight, what we're looking for is purely authorization to proceed. That's the resolution. For those that are new on the council, the resolution is prepared by your bond attorney. We're your municipal advisor. Your bond attorney is Quarles and Brady. And what they are doing in this case is they're providing you the necessary legal documents to conduct this sale, but more importantly, they provide their tax opinion. And their tax opinion allows this debt to be sold as tax-exempt debt. That's what enables you to have such a low interest rate on these securities. So they're the other player in this. You have Moody's as the rating agency. Ellers, we're conducting the process and going through the sale with you. And then on the legal side is Quarles and Brady is providing the legal opinion necessary to be able to issue tax-exempt debt. So that's the players that are involved. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Yes, sir.
Now, the savings that you show on here, now that's the interest rate that we're seeing right now. That's what you're
Correct.
thinking.
Yeah, it's what we are doing typically, and, for those that, that have been through this process with us, what we will do is we have issues that are selling every week in the market for municipalities in Wisconsin. And so we'll look at how a similar rated credit to Ripon sold recently and compare what our estimates are to that. So we're couching it against what we have seen from recent sales. In this case, what we're using is the city of Marinette. We did a sale, they're rated A1, just like the city of Ripon. We've actually increased the rate a little bit, just in case we see a market moving up. So we think what we're showing you is conservative right now. We would hope we could do a little bit better than that.
Now, is the savings, is that before or after fees?
That is after fees. These are actual savings that we're showing.
Thank you.
Other questions? It's always good to have your first introduction to new council members to be saving money as opposed to.
Question, is this something that you automatically do annually then for us to review this?
We, well, more than annually, we look at this probably for every one of our municipal clients, probably every month. Because, you know, we work for a lot of municipalities in the state. One, there's a lot of securities out there, and so we're monitoring on a regular basis. And anytime it rises to the level that it makes sense, we bring it to staff, and then we'll get on the agenda if it makes sense. For instance, in this document, I do reference that you do have another issue that will be for consideration. Your 2013 water revenue bonds come callable later in a couple of months. If the market holds, we'll be back in front of you in about 2 to 3 months looking at that issue to refinance as well. So we're constantly reviewing.
And it's for the same amount of years.
It's for the same amount of years. We're not extending it at all.
Any other questions?
Would move the process forward.
Second.
Specifically, that's to authorize a resolution, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Trader? Okay,
So the motion is to authorize the resolution authorizing the issuance and establishing parameters for the sale not to exceed $2,955,000 general obligation refunding bond series. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
All right, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Phil.
Phil.
Coming in.
All right, moving on then to project updates and staff reports. Lori?
I do not have anything.
All right. Nothing Public Works, nothing Police, and that's all we have here tonight. I do have one appointment I'd like to make this evening. For the Police Commission, I'd like to appoint Vince King to a 5-year term ending April 30th, 2025.
Make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Has been moved by Dave and seconded by Howard. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of appointing Vince King to the Police Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Just have a short comment this evening, as this is our last council meeting before the end of the year. I'd just like to wish everyone happy holidays. I urge everyone to stay at home and celebrate with your household, but do remember to reach out to your friends and family by telephone or video or other creative means. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and remember to be kind, considerate, and respectful to others. Is there any suggestions for future agenda items? Dave?
I have one. I tabled dispatch center moving to Fond du Lac at the last meeting, and I'd like to take it back off the table and move it to the next meeting.
Would you like to make an official motion to that effect?
Yes, sir, I would. I'd make a motion to do this.
All right, is there a second?
Which meeting are we talking about?
The January
12th.
12th is our next meeting. So the motion is to remove
I'll
from the
second it.
table. As moved by Dave, seconded by Al. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of removing,
Let's go with the roll call.
oh, very good. So we'll do a roll call vote for removing the discussion of the police dispatch, or the dispatch conversation to the January 12th meeting.
Mr. Schrader,
Aye.
Mrs. Schatzinger,
Aye.
Mr. Hanson,
Aye.
Mr. Gallops,
Aye.
Mr. Morrison,
Aye.
Mrs. Kane. Aye. Mr. Split.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Very good, that will be on our next agenda. To that, it is more than a month away, so I ask everyone to do their homework, ask questions of any department heads that you have questions to be asked, and be prepared to make that meeting a productive one. Any further agenda items?
Is this where an announcement can be made as well?
Or announcements?
Super, I want to make an announcement that, let's just be honest, at this current time that we're facing in the history, it has been challenging to say the least. And I think it's really a really neat opportunity that the Ripon Area School District, along with, sponsored by our Brave program here in Ripon, is offering a free virtual mental health night for all of us in the community for free from 6 to 7. The link is right on the Facebook page of the Ripon Area School District. Again, that's this Thursday from 6 to 7, free virtual mental health night for everybody.
Thank you. Any other agenda items or comments? Hearing none, get the right glasses on for this one. I will seek a motion to adjourn to a closed session under Wisconsin statutes 19.85, section 1C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility.
We'll motion it.
It has been moved by Ben. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dave. All those in favor of adjourning to that closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned to a closed session. Take a 5-minute break. It's